Hey everybody, so Function here, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about the combo deck that I was brewing up over the last weekend. But before I do, if you haven't already watched the combo video that I just made, and hopefully put up on YouTube right before this one, I would say maybe go watch that one first, because it's a little bit about how combo decks tick and what the goals of them are, what you're trying to do. So you might want to check that one out first. It's pretty short, but you're here, you're watching this one, and one last thing I want to say before I get into it is, thanks to everybody in-game and on YouTube and on the forums. It's been really supportive for me. It's been a little while since I've been making the videos, I'm well aware, but everybody I've been playing against in-game was like, holy crap, you're making videos again, that's great. And you know what, it's really great for me to hear that. That means a lot to me. I'm glad that everybody's been so supportive. And on that note, somewhere down in this area, there's the like button on YouTube, and clicking that helps more people see my videos, makes them on the search tab for YouTube, all that fun stuff. So if you do like it, please click so, and fun times. Anyways, let's move on to the deck. Where is it? Somewhere in here. I have way too many decks saved. I should probably delete some of them, but it is... there it is. So, it's kind of like a bird of plenty, shrewd manipulation, hex engine is the whole interaction there. Before I get talking about that, what I want to mention here is maybe what got me thinking about the deck at first was Avalanche Giant is choose and discard 2 cards. This troop deals 4 damage to target troop. So at that point, we'll count here. We're dealing 4 damage to the bird with the Avalanche Giant, which is going to in turn draw us 4 cards, because whenever the bird takes damage, you're drawing that many cards. So now we have 4 cards in hand after discarding 2, so we really are up 2 cards. Well, what do you know? Shrewd manipulation here is choose and discard 2 cards, ready or exhaust target artifact or troop. So now you have the same number of cards in your hand as you started with, but you've kind of been able to cycle through some of them. Potentially, well actually not potentially, if you have all 3 of those cards in play, you can draw your entire deck. You won't be up any cards, but you'll be able to basically choose exactly what you want in your hand, more or less. So long as you have at least 2 or 3 cards in your hand to start, you'll be able to kind of filter through and grab what you want. It's not the most powerful thing, and I tried kind of thinking about what different combos there were. I ended up moving away from Avalanche Giant with my end product, but in case anybody out there is able to come up with something better than I am, maybe this will be the spark that will trigger your imagination and let you come up with something. Avalanche Giant is definitely something to consider. You can, for the cost of 0 resources, draw your entire deck with Bird of Plenty and Shrewd Manipulation. Granted, you're also going to be discarding a lot of cards, so if you're relying on cards being in your graveyard in order to fuel some other weird interaction, that's a lot of cards you're using to fuel your combo. But hey, stranger things have happened. So speaking of stranger things, this is after toying around with Avalanche Giant, realizing that I wasn't actually really doing anything powerful. I started thinking about Hex Engine and using that with Shrewd Manipulation. So here, you're able to choose and discard 2 cards, ready or exhaust target artifact or troop, and in doing so, you're discarding 2 cards, basically, to gain 2 resources is your net there. And Hex Engine's already pretty good on its own, because it'll give you the 2 resources at the beginning of the turn. So you're using that as your new interaction to generate resources, because in the previous one it didn't cost you anything, but you're also not generating any. And now you're using Ragefire to draw the cards. So what you're doing is you're using Ragefire on your Bird of Plenty to draw you something like maybe 6 cards or so. The idea is that early in the game you're using the Ragefires to kill off your opponent's troops, and then later in the game, once you've drawn your Bird of Plenty, gotten it into play, you're going to Ragefire it, draw something like 6 cards, use hopefully one of those cards is like a burn or another Ragefire or an Oracle Song, and then you're going to use Hex Engine and Shrewd Manipulation and generate some resources. And there's been times where something like turn 5, turn 5 I've won the game, turn 6 I've won the game, where you did 40 or 50 damage on turn 5 or 6. It takes a lot of work, but with the help of Mastery of Time, it's really not that hard to execute. The real problem with this deck, though, and the reason I'm probably not going to be playing it in the Hex TCG Pro tournament this weekend, is that it's a little bit too slow. The cost of Bird of Plenty is a little bit restrictive, especially with how vulnerable it is. It'll get hit by Solitary Exile and Murder, both of which I expect to get played a lot this weekend, and because of that, you know, getting your bird either murdered or solitary it really hurts, because if you don't land the bird and keep it in play for a turn, you're probably going to lose the game just because you're already behind on tempo a lot. Your opponent has probably developed a pretty strong board state, and that's why the Arcane Shield is in here. It's really kind of more like the fourth copy of bird. I think right now I only have 3 in the deck that I've been using, and you know, a lot of these numbers could change, but Arcane Shield does work pretty well when you do draw it. You're able to play that bird out, especially if you have like Hex Engine on turn 6, so you have the 2 extra resources, you're at 8, and you have enough to use Arcane Shield on your bird if they put something into play that could kill it. So that's all going, and that's kind of the whole combo. What else have we got in here that I should talk about? Burn is in here to hit your own bird with and to remove some early threats. Crimson Clarity kind of works as another copy of Hex Engine. Also, it lets you play Hex Engine on turn 3 sometimes. I haven't really drawn Crimson Clarity a whole lot, and generally when you're testing different cards out, you want to be drawing them a whole bunch, so I can't really say whether Crimson Clarity is great or not yet. It has worked for me a couple times, but it's probably a card I'm going to cut, maybe in favor of something like Surge Mechanism here, which could generate some extra resources, or I think another really good route for this deck is if you find yourself losing against really aggressive decks, or you think that you're going to be playing a lot of really aggressive decks in the tournament, you could take out all the Crimson Clarities and the Surge Mechanisms, replace them with Heat Wave, which will also trigger some draw onto your Bird of Plenty. It kind of does the same thing Burn does for you, but it potentially kills a lot of your opponent's troops. Finally, and this is another reason why I'm not really going to be playing the deck, is Chimes is really powerful, and kind of what I was saying about in the last video, is Chimes isn't necessarily a combo card. It does do some really powerful stuff, and it does have potential to combo. You know, you could make a loop, but just on its own, it's really powerful. The next spell you cast is probably going to win you the game once you've landed the Chimes, especially if it's something like Mastery of Time or Rage Fire. That's going to be a lot of damage right then and there. So Chimes is in there, kind of it's just an extra copy. A lot of the time when you do draw it, it's really powerful. And I think it turns out that Chimes based decks are probably going to be better than a Birds based deck. So at that point you just cut out Shrewd, you cut out Bird of Plenty, and just work on playing a Chimes deck. Finally, another interaction I want to mention here is Burn to the Ground. It's really easy for, and I only have 1 copy in here, but it's really easy for Burn to the Ground to hit your opponent for a tremendous amount of damage based off of drawing a bunch of cards off a bird and then having a Shrewd Manipulation that you just discard everything you have to generate a bunch of resources with Hex Engine, and all of a sudden you're doing a Burn to the Ground for something like 18 or 20 damage. It's not that far-fetched with the way the combo plays out. So hopefully I'll be doing another video right after this, and that will have me playing a game or 2 with the combo. I might just cut to executing the combo, because honestly this deck does feel pretty vulnerable in the early game, so it might take me a few games to get there. But until next time, guys, less fail, more function. If you like the video, definitely subscribe and hit the like button. Thanks to everybody who's been so supportive, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.